Okay, it's 9 o'clock, and now call the joint meeting of the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners and the City of Vero Beach City Council to order. What we'll start off, we'll have invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, and if you please rise, the invocation will be presented by Wesley Davis, Commissioner, and Pledge of Allegiance by Chairman Gary Wheeler.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity we have to come before you today and conduct the public's business and have a workshop on such an important issue as Piper Aircraft, Lord. May we use your wisdom and your guidance and your judgment. In your name we pray. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, it's great to see everybody here today, and we know we got an important meeting. We'll go ahead and start off with, instead of doing roll call, we're going to do introductions of the city council members, and then we'll have the introduction, excuse me, of the county commission. I'll start off from my left. Our newest member is Bill Fish, city councilman. We have Kenneth Daig, our city councilman, and of course Deborah Fromang. We also have Vice Mayor Sabe Abel, and I'm Tom White. And Gary, if you would like to introduce your...
I'd like to introduce the county staff, and then each commissioner can introduce themselves. We have our county administrator, Joe Baird, with us.
Oh, hi, Joe. And I should introduce mine, too.
Our county attorney, Will Collins, and our PR guy, Mr. Lemon.
Good morning, Russ.
County Commissioner Joe. How about the microphone? County Commissioner Joe Flesher.
County Commissioner Peter O'Brien.
Wesley Davis.
Vice Chairman Sandra Bowden.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Wheeler. And I'd like to introduce our staff with us today. We have our city attorney, Charlie Vatunik, and we have our city manager, Jim Gabbert, and our city clerk, Tammy Vach. And I don't know if do we have any other staff in the here? Eric Menger. I'm sorry, our airport director. Good morning. All right, we're on item 6, economic development presentation regarding Piper Aircraft, and this will be by the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce. Mrs. Chandler.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you this morning, commissioners, council members. In July 2003, the new Piper Aircraft announced they were under new ownership after a buyout and recapitalization of the company sponsored by American Capital Strategies. American Capital first invested in Piper in May of 1998. On December 20th of last year, Piper's ownership group selected and announced that BDO Seidman would represent Piper to assist in their location strategy and help them identify the optimal location for the manufacture of the new Piper jet. The project was dubbed Project Osprey. Later, 2 consultants from BDO Seidman joined Duff & Phelps, the firm that today represents Piper in the site evaluation and selection process. Duff & Phelps is one of the world's leading independent financial advisory firms and a provider of industry-focused, independent, and objective valuation insight and advice with services that include site selection. Duff & Phelps has more than 800 employees and serves clients around the world. On January 12th this year, the Chamber received the official project request, and we began our internal discussions regarding the group that we would assemble to work with us on this project. Our Economic Development Director, Helene Castletine, will recognize the members of that team in a moment. The RFP was clear that the company was gathering preliminary information and data that would help them identify locations that would support the business goals of the company. The RFP stated that this part of the process was for information gathering and in no way committed the company to select a community or a facility for Piper. Through the RFP process, we also learned from the consultants that Piper hopes to select a location site by the end of the 3rd quarter of 2007. As Helene and I have informed each of you individually, the RFP clearly described excuse me, that disclosure of confidential information to the media or to anyone that the company did not intend to receive it and whose need to receive it was not essential was absolutely unauthorized. Disclosure would damage Piper's interests and its relationships with its employees, its customers, and other constituencies. Accordingly, the information in the RFP, as well as the subsequent information received from the consultants at our request, was provided with that same understanding that it be kept confidential. It was also stated in the RFP that the company would remove from consideration any jurisdiction that disclosed confidential information about the project at any stage in the project without consent of the company or its authorized representatives. Minimal requirements stated in the RFP for consideration in these preliminary stages were that the offer include an on-airport facility, a location within 20 miles of an interstate highway, the ability to meet weather conditions, a superior labor management climate, and a workforce with required skills, and the availability of business incentives. Additionally, we were asked not to make personal contact with the company, but to address all of our questions through the consulting firm. Since we are the home team, the directions established by the company and the consulting firm regarding the confidentiality were very difficult for us. I applaud each and every one of you for maintaining confidentiality, as we were called numerous times by the media and the public with their concerns and questions regarding our efforts to retain this important company. This has not been easy, and we sincerely appreciate your confidence as we've moved forward to this day. Our preliminary response to the RFP was submitted by the consultant's deadline of February 2nd. For that original response, our project team pulled together a competitive and creative package that covered a number of components from facility to training incentives. Over 60 communities responded to that RFP. Our proposal was strong enough to have kept us in the running, as those proposals were trimmed down to the remaining 5 communities. On March 22nd, the project team met with the site consultants. The purpose of the meeting was to review the options our team had proposed and discuss recommendations suggested by the consultants that would fine-tune our proposal. The consultants also offered feedback of our proposal based on their discussions with the company's management team. In late March, the Chamber engaged the services of the Washington Economics Group to study the current Piper operation in order to provide us the data on the economic impact the facility has on our community. An overview of that $518 million local impact will be provided in a review of our study results today. During the past few months, the project team has met numerous times together and also had teleconference meetings with the consulting team and Enterprise Florida, our state partners. On April 30th, per our request to the consultants, a private meeting with Piper officials was provided to top team leadership. Later last week, our entire project team was invited to the Piper facility to view a mock-up of the new jet. Today you will hear the breakdown of the incentives package that has been thoughtfully brought together by our project team. Each of you has had one-on-one meetings with me and/or Helene, and we've briefed you on this information. You have had opportunity to review that RFP, the economic impact report findings, and the proposed incentive package in our offices at your pleasure. Since Florida operates under the Sunshine Law, we did gain the permission and cooperation of the company and the consultants to disclose our findings, as well as to publicly discuss our incentive considerations at today's public meeting. We want it to be clear that Piper's site selection process is for the purpose of locating their corporate headquarters, the current manufacturing facility, and to manufacture the new Piper jet. For the communities with whom we compete, this is a recruitment project. If they fail, they walk away with no losses. For us, this project is a business retention project. If we are not successful, the losses are staggering for our community. For the Chamber and the project team, today's meeting is as far as we can go without the vote of our local governments to move forward with the consultants and the company. If you decide to move forward and our community is able to maintain our position, there will be more work to do in the coming weeks and months. We are hopeful that you will decide today to move us in a direction that will bring us closer to retaining and growing Piper aircraft in our community. Piper is ours to lose. At this time, I'd like to introduce Helene Castletine, who's our Economic Development Director.
Thank you, Penny.
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Council members. Good to see you. I'd first like to begin by recognizing and thanking the members of this Project Osprey team. With the City of Vero Beach, we worked with Mayor Tom White, City Manager Jim Gabbard, City Attorney Charlie Vatunak, Budget Director Steve Millay, Interim Utilities Director John Lee, and Airport Director Eric Menger. At Indian River County, we worked with Commission Chairman Gary Wheeler and County Administrator Joe Baird. With Enterprise Florida, we've been working with Bob Rohrlach, who serves as Vice President of Enterprise Florida, as well as Casey Barnes, who's the Project Director. Duff & Phelps, the site consultant company, we've been working with Michelle Camerata and Scott Butcher. And of course, with the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce, it's been Penny and myself. So thank you all for taking time to help us to this point. At this point, what I would like to do is kind of review the key points on the project, just to give you an overview. Penny mentioned some of those already, but basically it's the company wants to secure a location for the new jet manufacturing plant and the existing manufacturing operations. It's estimated that the new plant will create 500 new jobs. The existing facility, of course, as we know, it currently employs approximately 1,100 residents. The estimated investment for a new plant is approximately $40 million in equipment and machinery, and an additional $60 million for a new facility. As Penny mentioned, the consultants received proposals from over 60 sites in 14 states. And, of course, Indian River County is one of 5 that is currently under consideration. The other 4, as you may have read in our local newspapers, are Oklahoma, New Mexico, South Carolina, and the city of Tallahassee. The company is vertically integrated, which means they make most of their own tooling. And as I'd mentioned, Enterprise Florida and the Governor's Office are involved. The company could be eligible for several of the state programs that are offered. However, we're not going to go into those details today. In our initial discussions and the initial proposal, the company was looking to have built a 700,000 square foot building. They would like to offset their insurance costs. They would like to minimize their utility costs, and as Penny mentioned, the availability of a skilled labor force is crucial to their operations. As Penny mentioned too, last month we did engage the Washington Economics Group to conduct an economic impact analysis of Piper's current operations on our local economy. And just for a little background about Washington Economics Group, since 1993, the company has delivered customized economic and business consulting services for corporations and institutions based in the Americas. They are not a mass production consulting entity, and they do not accept every project that comes to them. They engage a limited number of clients each year that require customized consulting services in their areas of specialization. Their exclusive services are headed by former Undersecretary of Commerce, Dr. Antonio Villamil, who has over 25 years of high-level experience as a business executive, a sought-after professional speaker, and a top public sector official. He also served as the director for the Governor's Office of Trade, Tourism, and Economic Development. At this point, what I'd like to do is introduce Mr. Chuck Yaros, who is an associate consultant for economics at the Washington Economics Group. Chuck has over 20 years of experience as a business and financial economist and serves as economic consultant in the areas of financial economics and economic impact studies. So Chuck, if you wouldn't mind coming up and taking a few minutes to explain the results of our study.
Thanks, Celine.
Good morning, Councilman, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk with you. I'd like to take a couple of minutes and go beyond the headline of the study that we prepared for the Indian River Chamber of Commerce and go beyond the headline of the $518 million figure. We were asked to analyze Piper Aircraft's current operations here in Vero Beach and Indian River County and calculate what the economic impact would be on the county of that current operation. As I'm sure everyone in this room is aware, Piper Aircraft is Indian River County's largest private sector employer with just over 1,000 employees. Further, if you look at the products they produce a high technology, state-of-the-art product that is exported from Indian River County to the rest of the world, either the United States or throughout the world. And Piper Aircraft is a very well-known and respected name in the aviation community. Their average wage of their employees is considerably above both the county average and the statewide average at just under $40,000 a year. In our analysis, we found that Piper Aircraft, and as well as the other economic entities in the county that are dependent upon Piper Aircraft, generate about $91 million a year in annual labor income. Total economic impact, as I'm sure you're all aware, is just over $500 million a year. And our best estimate today is that all of those entities in total pay about $27 million a year in federal, state, and local taxes. Further, if you break that down by type of tax paid, it splits about $20 million to the federal government, $7 million to state and local, with, bear with me one second while I find the exact figure, state getting about $3.5 million and the remainder coming into the county and city governments. As I mentioned earlier, the bulk of the employees associated with Piper and the bulk of the economic impact is concentrated in manufacturing and knowledge-based services, with approximately 80 to 90% of the impact being in those areas of the economy as opposed to other areas of the economy. Be happy to take any questions you have.
Okay. Does anybody from the City Council have a question?
Commissioner?
County Commissioner? Okay.
Again, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Holly.
Thank you, Chuck. At this point, what I'd like to do is just kind of give you a rundown of the proposed combined city and county economic incentive package that we are proposing before you, and we have given you these in our one-on-one meetings with you the past several days. Is a general overview of the proposal. To start out, the city and the county will purchase Piper's existing property, including the land and buildings, at fair market value, and lease the property back to the company at a rate to be determined. The city and county will construct additional manufacturing space as needed adjacent to the current facility. The city will investigate the possibility of including the property under its own insurance coverage, paying up to a predetermined amount of the premium, with that cost shared between the city and the county. A bulk utilities rate structure will be requested by the Public Service Commission. Water and sewer hookup fees will be negotiated. The county will pay the county-imposed impact fees related to new construction. The company is eligible to apply under the local jobs grant program. The county will also make classroom space available in their new administration building should the company need training space for their new hires. The city manager and the county administrator will personally oversee all the site plan and permitting activity as it relates to new construction or rehabbing any of the existing buildings. At this point, what we are asking is for your consideration to, empower your city manager and your county administrator to proceed in working out the details on the proposal that I just mentioned. And at this point, what I'm going to do is turn this meeting back over to you all, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chairman, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you, Elaine. Does anybody have any questions of Elaine or Penny Chandler from the chamber before we move on to discussion? Okay, we're all set, commissioners. All right, Gary, if you would like to start off and with your discussion on this?
I don't have any questions. I've been involved in this. I think everybody's been briefed, and we know where we're going. And under our part down here, I think the movement now is we either move forward with this or we don't, and we can poll our commissioners or a motion to, if so willing, to direct our administrator to work with the city's administrator and move forward on this process and get the response from Piper.
Mr. Chairman, I've never had a loss for words on something like this. You know, my opinion, commissioners and council members, is simple. And I mean, I got some dear friends that, just like many of you here, that work at Piper. And when I say dear friends, they're not just acquaintances that I met yesterday. They're people that I played football with in the first grade, Sebastian Panthers. And uniquely enough, when I had the opportunity to look at the Jet Saturday, Jamie Long was there. And exactly, he came out, and he works in the body shop over there. I run into these friends from 30 years ago in the convenience store. Terry Wallace asked me, Wesley, what are you going to do about Piper? And I look him back in the eye and say, this is my position, is whatever it takes. And I think whatever it takes for us to be able to enter into negotiations, whatever it takes for us to get the securities and safeguards we need to ensure that Piper holds up their end of the deal, whatever it takes from me as a commissioner to give the county administrator the instruction and the support and the cooperation with the city council is what I'm ready to do. And if you're after a motion, Commissioner, I can go ahead and wrap this up fast. I move that we move forward with the negotiations with Piper Aircraft, and that on our side, that we give the county administrator the direction to keep Piper in this community.
I second that, and would like to offer a little bit of discussion here. The attention to this is in the details, and the city manager and the county administrator have the marching orders to make it happen, and that we can afford. And that this is an ambitious project for the city and county together, but it's much needed, and I wish you well in getting this to happen.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I fully support the proposed package to submit to Piper. I would like to, and we may not have to decide it now, but one thing I would like to add to this is, with the city manager and county administrator, will certainly have personal responsibility to make sure this project goes forward. If and when we get to the point of construction and site planning and that type of activity, I think we need a dedicated project manager who can be on the job site 24/7, working with Piper to make sure there's no glitches, they don't lose a second of time before they can start making that jet. Hopefully somebody with some experience working with the FAA, since it is an airport site, and there's probably certain conditions to that. And I'd just like to add that in there, that I'm sure Mr. Gabbard and Mr. Baer will be busy with other things, and I just think we need somebody there 24/7 making sure this thing goes smooth and we give it all we got. So that would be the only thing I'd like to add to this, is that we have a dedicated project manager on site. But other than that, I concur with everything said. I too want to make sure we keep Piper. I think they've been a great neighbor to the community, and hopefully they'll continue to be a fantastic neighbor with us in the future. So it has my full support.
I want to see Piper maintained in Vero Beach. Let's negotiate.
Okay. Well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye in the commission. Aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Gary. And just before we start on our discussion, I'd just like to say the health of any city depends on its economic vitality. And economic vitality that Piper brings to our community is tremendous. And I think it's very, very important that we work diligently to make this work. And we'll go ahead and start with Mrs. Fromay.
Well, I'd just like to say that the state of Florida, other counties and other municipalities have spent millions of dollars trying to lure new industries into the state of Florida. We have a company with a proven economic, local economy benefit for over $1.5 billion. We cannot let this proven economic bird in the hand fly away from us. I totally support keeping Piper with us.
Thank you. Mr. Day.
I'm in favor of moving forward and having our city manager, city attorney, etc., work out the details on this, and to make sure the safeguards are built in place for the city. I had my meeting with the folks yesterday, and we had some thoughts on the matters, so I look forward to moving forward and also working with our city manager on the details and the safeguards.
Thank you. Mr. Fish?
Really a couple points. One, I think would be unconscionable for us not to take appropriate action. But I do caution people that are working on this thing. I've already received phone calls of people that do not buy the plant. So there's already some thoughts about that. And I think that has to be very carefully handled with the public, that where they be educated as to what's involved, how does it work. Okay?
Yeah, I think devil's in the details, like Mrs. Bowden said, and I think that'll be all worked out, and we'll get that straightened out when we get there. And of course, the public will be informed on everything we do. Vice Mayor Abel?
I agree with I second what Wesley Davis said. Whatever it takes, be creative. Just don't give up the farm.
Just to show you on just having 60 cities bid for this. And to tell you, truthfully, Flying Magazine did a special on the new jet that they want to build. And I've been doing some research on this. And for us to lose something this vital and this so great, that this is going to probably be the new upcoming thing of the future. And I believe that Piper jets are probably going to be a good seller. And I think it'll help. And the problem we look at is that the Jet Center, even if the Jet Center had bid and moved away, what happens is that in the future they're going to move their whole facility to wherever the Jet Center is, and that's what we don't want to happen. And we want to keep them all together. But I will entertain a motion, council, to move forward and have our city manager work with the county administrator and bring him back all the facts.
I would like to so move to do that.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Any other discussion?
Yes, I had one other question.
Sure.
And underneath the details and all, our city manager, along with the city attorney and others, you're going to work out the percentage, of how the split's going to be. That's all going to be in the details as this rolls out.
Yes.
And also, we're still under that time frame, correct?
Yes.
And what is that time frame again?
We have 2 weeks.
10 working days?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got to move on it.
Okay.
Penny, you want to comment on that, or Helene, on the The timeline?
The timeline was extended by 2 weeks. The original timeline to get this next document in to the consulting group was May 15th. That has been extended by 2 weeks. That does not mean that that is the end of all negotiations. It does not mean that that is the end of the process. That just means that we get a document into the hands of the consulting group so that they can make determinations with the company on next steps to take.
Okay, does that answer your question, Kev?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, we talked about yesterday of, since everything with our city and county has to be out in the open in the sunshine, and we're working under such a tight frame, we were asking about the first right of refusal. Is that going to be in the details?
Again, that's something we'll have to discuss with Piper.
Okay, thank you.
This actually is just a meeting to have them go forward and put the package together and bring it back for approval.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously, 5-0. So you got a full unanimous vote from county and city to move forward. I think this is a win-win situation for Vero Beach to keep plugging away. And Mr. Wheeler, you like to say something?
Excuse me. I'd just like to make 3 quick comments. I listened to all this and what we've been through. First, I'd like to publicly recognize and thank the Chamber of Commerce and Penny and Helene for the job they've done. It's been
Done an
outstanding.
excellent job.
Secondly, hopefully in the media this will change our image about being not business friendly. I think we are a conservative community, but I think we are business friendly. And hopefully if this comes to pass and we're successful keeping Piper here, that maybe that image can start to change. And this morning, as some other people said, I had a couple of people say, would you buy my business? But I got just food for thought for the people that may hear this. Most of the small businesses here that may ask that question, if Piper leaves, are going to be dramatically affected by the loss of this $500 million in revenue that circulates in our community. So I think it's pro-business for the small businesses to keep Piper here also. It's just not spending money to keep one business here. It's a business that has a tremendous economic effect on Indian River County. So thank you.
I was talking to a reporter yesterday, and we were just discussing the economic impact of Piper and all the businesses. And as you know, my small business is located by the airport and the Chevron station, CJ Cannon's. And we started realizing and started talking about it. CJ Cannon's was, when they're building a new terminal, was talking about doubling their size. And now, talking to Chuck Cannons, he's going, well, I don't know if I should, because if Piper moves, he says, I'm going to have to, keep the same size I got, because I won't be able to afford it. And then the little Chevron station around the corner, all Piper employees go over there, get gas up, and they spend money in the city. I have a small business. I do the awards for Piper. So I would lose a small amount of money too if Piper should leave. So there's so many businesses and so many fields that would be affected by the loss of Piper. And I think that would definitely be an economic hit to all of us. So I think it's important that we really, really keep our nose to the grindstone on this. All right. Any other discussion from any of the officials? All right. I would like, now that we're moving forward, and I usually allow, and Gary has the same tradition, is there anybody from the public that would like to make any comments before we adjourn this meeting? Okay, Mrs. Offit. Just state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Nancy Offit. I reside in Vero Beach, and I'm delighted that we have a unanimous commitment to keep Piper here. And I took something out of our family scrapbook this morning. You can see how old it is. But I'd like to read one little paragraph from it. And this is from the dedication service of dedication ceremony that happened on Sunday, January 8th, 1961, when Piper was dedicated in Vero Beach. It says, "We stand on this small planet in this brief moment of time, giving thanks for the great wonders that transcend time and space. Thoughtfully, may we prepare our hearts for the new heights of knowledge and service now made possible." And I think that what was said then in 1961 can be said right now after you've given this a 10-0 vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Huffett. We appreciate it. Anyone else from the public who would like to make a comment? Okay. Seeing none, I'll go ahead. Any comments from council or county commission?
Just that we're not used to such short meetings.
Yeah, I know.
Neither are we.
Yeah. I don't know. Gary's got the record right now. All right. Seeing.
I think the school board still got
Yeah,
the
I think
record.
the school board has that.
And also, just to let you know that in our audience, we have Dr. Ed Massey from the IRCC, and we also have Mayor Savage from the city of Fellsmere, and I don't know if any other elected officials are out there from other cities. But I want you to know that IRCC is working very close with all of us because of this training and stuff for Piper. And Dr. Massey, I appreciate you being here and for your commitment towards this project, too. All right. Any other business? Seeing none, I now declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
have one poor person stuck out on the playground with 300 children either. I mean, that's not going to work.
You could always have them all go in the hard court and do jumping jacks and satisfy some of that 150 minutes of PE.
That's one of the other items we're going to bring back for discussion.
So
too,
we'll get
because
that one soon.
We're waiting now for. I've asked the Superintendent's Association and our mixing group to say what in the heck are we doing, guys, with that 150 minutes? Who's supposed to teach that? So hopefully we'll get some good input before we get to the budget on that.
Okay. Well, and I will say this is not a new issue. I think I've mentioned before I was at Rosewood School for 6 years, many years ago, and even though I was always at school, usually no later than 7 o'clock, there were kids who were there. It's dollar-driven. We'd have parents who absolutely cannot fit another dollar into their budget for their concerns for kids. They can't afford the extra dollars for the daycare. So I think, and I absolutely agree, Ms. Reuter's comment about the suggestions have been all over the board. We can do all the surveys we want, but I think that would be a disservice to the people involved because ultimately the decision is still going to have to be ours. I think Dr. Pritchett's comment about it was evenly divided, a third, and a third. I think that's exactly what we're going to see. We're going to see that input, and that's probably going to be how close it'll be. So I too wish that there was something we could do with the high school's schedule because
Me too.
That to me, I understand sports, I understand the need for many of our students to work after school, but that's not our concern. Our concern is the best education for the students. And the best education for a high school student is not starting school at 7:30 in the morning. They're of an age where they're up late, and some of them have no true supervision, and they are not rested, ready to begin learning. That would be a difficult thing for us to take on if we wanted to take that on. But we've taken on other things. We could consider that.
It's a matter of budget priorities as far as where you want to choose it. But we'll work up. I'll at least provide what the Brevard one will look like as information. My likelihood is I'm going to recommend the elementary schedule that you saw from the first time through, but I'll work the other one up because what you see for Brevard in here won't work for us because they're using only 2 runs or 2.5 runs per bus instead of 3. But we can do a comparable so you can see all 3 possibilities. And that way, if you want to do a substitute motion, you know what you're substituting to. What you can't do is you got to listen to our experts from transportation to say, these are the times. This is how much time I need to turn this bus around in between time. And that will vary a little bit depending on which one goes first and which one goes second. So we have to listen to them. We can give you a couple scenarios to look at. I'll recommend one next time.
Please.
And hopefully we'll be done with it. But if not, at least you won't have time to say, let's just adopt the Brevard schedule when that one probably wouldn't work for us because we would not have enough fleet capacity to do it.
Well, and Dr. Pritchett, I appreciate the fact that you're willing to take the heat on this before you leave. And I appreciate the fact that you've come forward with some suggestions. That certainly speaks well to our selection. So we do appreciate that. But what we're trying to do is solve a problem that will benefit our students and learning that takes place in the classroom for the most benefit for our students. So I think the intent is very good, and we'll look forward to that. Will that be back on our next?
It'll be back on the next one, probably as an action item, not consent, but an action. So we won't have to pull it, but I will put the other information in. I will probably recommend the existing one. There is a TBA time in there at Wabasso that we will fill in before the next one. Those will all be in there as well. Because Wabasso also is tricky because it involves a number of wheelchair buses, so we need to make sure that those times mesh when we can realistically do it on each of the 3 schedules.
Thank you. Just a reminder that we do have one of our candidate interviews tomorrow. That will begin with our administrators and staff here in this room, and then we will have welcome the public at 10 o'clock. And tomorrow evening, anyone who's interested, I would suggest you tune in. We'll have the share of the of the audience from 6:30 to 8:30 tomorrow evening. So thank you very much. Meeting adjourned. This regular school board meeting to order for May 8th. This is our business meeting. It's a pleasure to have everyone here. Pardon me? Well, I do apologize to the audience. We've had today we've had a couple of workshops, and we've had some marathon meetings with candidates, which is absolutely wonderful. And we just need to get back on page as to where we are. So again, I'd like to call the regular school board meeting of the Indian River County School District to order for our May 8th meeting. We'll begin with an invocation by the Reverend Tom Harris of First Presbyterian Church. Reverend Harris, you come forward, please, sir.
Good evening. How are you doing?
It's fine.
I want to begin with a real brief story that does have a connection to the prayer, I promise. We had a guest minister come this last Sunday, and he preached to us about a story in Luke, which is the story of the young boy Jesus. And the nutshell of it is that Jesus disappears from his parents for 5 days. And eventually his parents find him, and they return home, and the story ends with this one line that says, Mary treasured these things in her heart. And in spite of her son wandering off for 5 days and not being able to find him, in spite of all the trials of youth, Mary still treasured her son. And in school boards and as parents, I know it's easy for us to get wrapped up in the problems that our kids cause us. But I guess my charge and even my prayer tonight is about treasuring our children no matter what. Let's pray. Gracious God, you bestow so many good gifts upon us. And as we gather here tonight, we are mindful of the charge that you give each of us to be good stewards of the gifts you give us in our children. Help us, God, in all of our decisions that we make and everything that lies before us, that we might look upon them as treasures. Help all those, God, who come here to listen, those who come here, Lord, tonight to speak, that everything we say and hear may be geared around the treasure that you give us in these kids. And help us, God, to treasure them not simply because they're ours, but also, God, because they're yours. They're a gift from you. And as, God, we do this, as we seek to treasure them, we ask that you would help us to grow in wisdom and understanding of how much you also treasure each one of us. For all this we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. If you'd please stand for the presentation of colors and pledge to the flag by the Color Guard, ROTC, Vero Beach High School.
Color guard, halt. Right, hey. Present, who's? Flags, post. you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, haste! Forward, haste!
You may be seated. Okay, we have the adoption of the agenda, and we do have some items that have been requested to be moved from consent. Ms. Quimby has requested consent B, items 16 and 17 only. Also, request for removal of consent E by Ms. Quimby. Any other changes? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Do I hear a motion for the orders of the day?
Make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Brombach, second, please.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion for the orders of the day? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Unanimous. Now, presentations. Dr. Pritchett.
I'm going to, well, I'm not doing this by myself. I'm going to invite Ms. Falvo to come forward for the Indian River Education Foundation. This is actually their presentation. I just get to be part of it. I'm absolutely honored to be part of this.
Thank you. Good evening. It's an honor to be here. My name is Cynthia Filardo, and I'm with the Education Foundation of Indian River County. We wanted to find a very special way to honor Dr. Pritchett. And as you probably can imagine, it's difficult to come up with something so special for a man who's so great and has done so much throughout his life for children and teachers. I'm sure he has many golden apples, plaques, and trophies. But thankfully, with the support of the school board and with the Education Foundation board members, we created a special award called the Dr. Pat Pritchett Cyber Scholars. And tonight, Dr. Pritchett is going to join me in presenting that first scholarship. And I'd like to invite Bianca Gray and her family to come forward.
Nice. Oh. Yay.
Congratulations, Bianca. Bianca's receiving a one-year internet subscription so that she can continue her studies. She's an AP History, an AP Chemistry student. She's also a gifted athlete, cross-country, basketball, and track. I hope I got those all right. And our hope is that with being the first Pat Pritchett Cyber Scholar, she'll also be able to take advantage of the virtual school to also take college courses as well as expand her knowledge. So we're very proud of you and grateful for everything that you do to represent us so well.
Oh, nice.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to say something? Would you like to say something? Would you like to introduce who's with you here tonight?
My stepdad.
And do they have names?
Mr. Brooks and Mrs. Coley.
Oh, okay.
It's a pleasure. If you would come up, we'd like to congratulate all of you, and Mrs. Filardo, if you'd come up also. We thank you so much for this.
That was a great idea. How nice. Congratulations.
What a wonderful idea.
They make us look proud. They make us look good. Students like that.
Well deserved.
Oh, that was sweet.
No, you're proud.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You have to understand.
Super duper kind.
She almost forgot.
Actually, Dr. Pritchett, they ask if you don't mind, they'd like to take a couple of pictures of you and the recipient, if that's okay. Okay? Okay. So, may I take those for you?
I'm sure you're very proud.
Since I gave you
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Since I gave to them, maybe I should take them. Jared. An ant. I had an ant walking around a microphone.
Okay.
Wow, that's great.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a resolution, 2007-10, support of Gifford Youth Activity Center. Ms. Brombaugh, would you like to read the resolution before we vote on it?
Yes, I will. Whereas the mission of the School Board of Indian River County is to educate and inspire all students to succeed in their endeavors, to pursue lifelong learning, and to be contributing members of their community. And whereas the Gifford Youth Activity Center is investing in our youth by providing a structured education and character development opportunity in the Gifford Youth Activity Center after-school and summer programs. And whereas a goal of the after-school and summer programs is to provide opportunities to children that enhance their likelihood of graduation from high school to go on to attend either the college or vocational program of their choice. And whereas the Gifford Youth Activity Center after-school and summer programs have shown a measurable increase in the promotion and graduation rate of students, and whereas the Gifford Youth Activity Center after-school and summer programs have shown a measurable decrease in unexcused absences of students from school, and whereas after-school programs for teens lowers the pregnancy rate, the incarceration rate, and the dropout rate by 50% for teens. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of Indian River County, Florida, hereby urges the County Commission of Indian River County, Florida, to join us in our commitment to a community partnership towards educational excellence and to invest in the youth of Indian River County by enhancing financial support of the after-school and summer programs of the Gifford Youth Activity Center, given at Vero Beach, Florida, this 8th day of May, 2007. Resolution 2007-10.
We do need a motion.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Ms. Quimby. We need a second.
Second.
Second. I don't think we need any further discussion. Roll call vote, please. Ms. Stang.
Mrs. Disney Brombach. Mrs. McKay. Aye. Ms. Quimby. Aye, Mrs. Reuter.
Aye.
Chairman Johnson.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
It's unanimous. Would you like to and do the presentation?
Please accept this resolution on behalf of the School Board of Indian River County.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Hoover, would you like to say
We ever had 6 vote at the same time.
Thank you.
Good work, good luck.
You get take that.
It's very well written.
Stay there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Then I can say a word, so I will.
Yeah.
Yes.
We greatly appreciate our partnership with the school district, and we appreciate everything you guys have done for us. I don't know that the community at large knows the degree to which you all offer assistance to us, and we want to thank you for that publicly, for the transportation, for the funding, for the summer meals programs, and the after-school snacks for the kids. We greatly appreciate everything you provide us in making this all work as a partnership in helping the children throughout the community. We are located in Gifford, and about 2/3 of the children we serve are from Gifford, but we do serve the county as a whole, getting children from 22 of the 23 schools. So we're blessed to be a part of this community and help in any way we can, and we greatly appreciate your assistance in facilitating that for us. Thank you again, and have a blessed day.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. All right. Okay, our next item is citizen input, and do we have all of the requests for input? Our first request is from Mr. Guy Barber, and who would like to speak about expectations. If you would please give your name and your address, sir.
Guy Barber, 2015 Highlands Avenue Southwest, Vero Beach, Florida. Reasonable expectations on the interviews with the superintendent. I guess I was a little spoiled. The last time we had interviews several years ago for superintendent, we met at the Heritage Center. There were several contestants there. And we had a free and open discussion with them, time to mingle, time to let them know what we expected. And whether it is intentional or not, I believe that you're closing the public out by having citizens communicate with these people at 10 or 10:30 in the morning. And at nighttime, when it's more feasible, we can come here and listen to you all, ask your questions, and may state your views. Well, we can't participate. Okay. As of the last half hour, I was told that I may go ahead and bring this to the board. And I have several issues, and I don't bring them to the board, and I won't bring them to the board until I have permission to. But a couple of weeks ago, a parent was called at the school at Oslo Middle School, and their bicycles were stolen. It was in a compound, locked up, and had a bike chain on the bicycle. The video cam shows a teacher unlocking the compound and then turning around and watching what was going outside. There was a child that was messing with the lock and finally got the lock unlocked on the bicycle and stole the bicycle. They claim they don't know who the child is. Well, neither here nor there. The parent has a reasonable expectation to make sure that the district compensates the child for the bicycle. The parent went to the teacher, the principal, the resource officer, the risk management, the superintendent, and everyone that they felt that they could go to, and to no avail, no answer, no participation, and no final answer on what they're going to do. So I told them I would bring it to the board. And I think if you have a compound that's locked up and you have a bicycle that's got a chain lock on it, you've done your part to protect your personal property, and it was up to the school district to make sure that when you come out of that classroom to get on your bicycle, that you have a reasonable expectation to be able to get on your bicycle and go home. And I think that somebody needs to find out and look at the tape. They say they don't recognize the child, but you can recognize everything else in there. I think that's just a covering up of the fact that the child needs to be found out. They need to prosecute. They need to get that bicycle back or make compensation to the family. That is a reasonable expectation, and that is what the family wants. And I would like somebody on the board, or all of you, to check into this and make some kind of a resolution on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Our next speaker is Dr. Harry Hurst regarding the superintendent search and Title I.
My name is Dr. Harry Hurst, 2075 De Leon Avenue, Vero Beach, Florida. I want to thank the board for allowing us to have input with the people who are being interviewed for the job as superintendent. I know that all of you are spending untold number of hours on these interviews. I really applaud you for being so diligent and so thorough and trying to make sure the right person is selected. I know from sitting in the audience for an hour, 2 or 3 hours at a time, it's terribly tiring. It's real hard to keep everybody straight in your thinking, but it's truly a worthwhile process, and I do hope the public will join us more as we have more interviews coming up. Issue number 2, Title I. I'm really concerned about the withdrawal of the program from Dodgertown. I'm sure the system plans to make sure the youngsters who are identified as Title I students will have the adequate program which is needed. However, it's not clear to the public if this will take place, how it will take place, etc. Remember, I'm sure you remember, we had 5 schools that were Title I. One became a magnet school, and we're losing one. That leaves us 3 out of 5. But we see no evidence that the administrative costs have gone down at all. I know in the real world of business where we've had to work to make money, the first thing you look at, well, what can I do at the top to make sure we got something at the bottom to go in? I really challenge you, if you would, to look at the situation. You can't pull money out of a hat, but see if we cannot find a way to provide the services that are needed. Keep in mind that the writing scores, I think, did show a great deal of improvement at that school, and let's try to provide the support there that is really needed if we are going to close that gap anymore. So I really hope that you will be able to address this at a different date so that the public will be assured that, yes, those students will be provided at appropriate service.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hurst. Our next request is from Mr. Jerry Cozio, Chairman of the Gifford Middle School SAC Committee, regarding proposed school bell schedules.
Good evening, board members. Jerry Cozio, 133